Currently my drawers have the thermal printed labels on them to tell me what's in them, and they're doing the job, but they don't look so great. And in certain places around the workshop, if they do get sunlight through the window on them, then they tend to fade. So let's go with something a little bit more hard wearing, something that should last years and years. Plastic! Hi, my name's Darren and welcome to my workshop. And today we're going to be looking at 3D printed nameplates for your tools and what have you around your workshop. Something a little bit nicer than stickers. I tried a few different iterations of the name tags. That one was my first. The raised lettering is nice and easy to view from all angles, but it just didn't have the effect I wanted. Plus the edges here weren't very detailed from a distance, you couldn't really tell much. So this one's my second iteration. You can see there's two colours. We've got a black layer on the background and then a gold foreground, and that allows us to see the black through it to highlight the lettering. I think that's a lot more effective. I like it a lot more anyway. Viewing angles aren't quite as wide as they would otherwise be with the letters raised, but I don't know, I think the overall look of it's much better. But this size ended up being too small to fit anything worthwhile on there. So my final iteration is this one, kind of the best of both worlds. It's got the look and it's a decent size that you can put a decent amount of lettering on. But there's no point in me just making dozens and dozens of these and putting them up on Thingiverse. You need to be able to do it for yourself. So this is how it's done. So I've opened up Fusion 360 and we're going to start with new sketch like so, and we'll pick the center rectangle and we're going to make our rectangle 95 long by 16 high, so 16 by 95, and that's our outermost box. I'm going to remove these just because I find them distracting. We don't use them for anything, so let's get them out of the way. Then we're going to put some circles in the corners to help us shape the corners, make them look a little bit more fancy. I'm going to make those 5mm. And I'm just going to hit C for circle each time because that's quick and easy. I'm going to use the trim command rather than just extruding this and drawing a second sketch on top of it, because it allows us to use the offset command in a way we couldn't otherwise. So, but anyway, we'll get to that in just a moment. T for trim. Take off the outer circle and these little corners all the way around. And you can see the shape that that leaves behind, like a fancy nameplate sort of shape. Don't worry about those little warnings down the bottom. We don't care. That's the sort of rebels we are. We just don't care. Okay, now we're going to offset the outer edge. You could use offset from the menu or O for offset. And you see now that we can select that like it's one big curve, which we wouldn't have been able to do had we have not used the trim. We're going to come in by 2mm and hit enter, and that's done. Okay, so there's our basic shape. Now we just need some screw holes to mount the thing. And we're going to use 6-gauge screws, so we would need 3.5mm holes. But what we're going to actually do here is use 3.6mm holes to allow for the tolerance of the 3D printer. You could even go 3.7, but it's not critical. So again, we're going to use circle. We're going to go 3.6mm. And using the dimension command, D for dimension, we're going to space it from this edge to the center by 5mm. And that will allow the head of the screw that we use to stay within the plastic area, within the top layer, and not overlap this edge, which would ruin the effect. Okay, so that's done. We're going to put a centering line here so we can mirror the circle to the exact same spot on the other side. So L for line, like so. We don't want to use that line for anything later, so we are going to select that line and hit X to make it a construction line. Okay, back over to our circle. We want to mirror that. We've got the mirror command up here. Mirror. We've already got our object selected. We select our mirror line, which is that construction line we just created, and OK. So that's that done. And that's our first sketch. We only need two, nice and simple. So now we're going to extrude that up. So you'll notice as we extrude our first layer up, it'll turn the sketch off, but that's okay. We'll switch that straight back on. So I'm going to use E for extrude. Select that one. We're only going to go up by 1 millimeter. That's all we need. And see we've lost our center. So we come up here to sketches, turn our sketch back on. And we're going to select there. And we're going to raise this one up, E for extrude, by 2 millimeters. And make sure this is selected to join, not new body. Okay, so that's that. So that's the basic shape of the nameplate. We just want to fancy it up with a bit of a fillet in here. We'll select our fillet tool first, and then select our edges all the way around, otherwise you've got to hit Shift. I'm just spinning the model around using the little cube up in the corner, which unfortunately for you is off screen. But never mind. Okay, so let's bring the fillet command down here where you can see it. Rolling ball, yes, we want to make the fillet 1 millimeter. Okay, done. So that looks a little bit fancier. Now the only thing left to do is to engrave the top with our text. So I'm going to spin it around, select the top and put on another sketch. There we go. Text. Put some text on the face and type in what it is we want engraved. And this is why I'm showing you how to do it, because obviously you'll want different labels to me. But let's go brushes. You can see that's upside down at the moment, so we'll flip that 180. Okay, and Arial's a bit boring. I think for this, something more traditional, looking like copper plate, gothic, bold, would be nice. That's what I've used on the others. I fiddled around with a few different ones, and I think that one's just more effective. We've got 10 mil. We're sticking with 10 mil just for consistency, because that fits almost any label I've wanted so far. And now to center that, you can see that the text is surrounded. It's easier if I bring it up here. You see the text is surrounded by this orange dotted line. We want to find the center of that and put a line in it to help us align it. So L. I'm sure there's a better way of doing this, but this works nicely for alignment. So there we go. I'm just going to select that line and hit X to make it a construction line so it doesn't end up doing anything. And we'll take the whole lot and we'll use that line to align with the center, and the center of the first letter B to align with the horizontal center. And there we go, that's all centered. Finish our sketch. And then we need to extrude this downwards for our engraving. So E for extrude. We're going to go -1 to cut in. We'll make sure it's cut, which it is, and OK. And that's it. We now have our engraved label. So it's just a matter of saving that. And now that we've saved that, we'll come up, right click, and save as STL. OK. OK, and the great thing about drawing them this way is that all you have to do to change the lettering of the actual sign is just roll back to our last sketch here, edit sketch, double click on the text, and up here just change it to the next thing. Now I could leave it at that, and that would be the same as all the others, but I've got all this real estate either side of the lettering there, so I think what I'll do is I'll actually make the text just slightly bigger, not so much that people will notice it compared to the other signs. Oops. but just to use the real estate a bit better than we had previously. So yeah, that looks good. Alright, and now what we're going to do is just save that out as an STL again. Okay, so over at the slicer we're going to now import our labels. Now if you're using Prusa Slicer, they'll all pile on top of each other like this, and you'll have to rearrange them. I think a lot of others will do that too. Not uncommon. Okay, so we've got our signs on the print bed. Let's go over and check our settings. Over here in the quick view of the settings, we've got 0.15mm quality. That should be high enough. I think 0.2 might be a bit rough, so let's stick with 0.15. Yes, I'm using PLA. That's good. I'm happy with the generic settings with this. They work well with the filament that I use. And 15% infill, that'll be plenty. We don't need more than that. It'll only have one little tiny layer of infill anyway, so that won't make any difference. So now, slice away. Now on Prusa Slicer, you have this little slider that allows us to stop it at a certain point, change the filament over, and then continue printing. And you can do this several times if you want, so you can have different coloured layers. We're going to stop down at layer 7. I only know this because I've done this before, but the way you would find out would be to just scroll down until your text disappears, and then come back up to your very first layer of text. There you go, and that is the layer you want to be your new colour. So we'll click plus, and that's it. Come down, we'll need to slice it again to change the G code to allow for that stop or that pause. And you can see now it actually mentions 2 colours here. So it's going to print the first colour for 52 minutes and then print the second colour for an hour 3. Okay, we're going to export the G code and we'll call it just labels. That's finished and we can eject that. And it'll be over to the printer. I've got my printer loaded up with black filament, ready for the first layer of printing. So we'll come down here and we'll select the printing file we want. Labels, that's the one. And away we go, it'll start printing the first layer. Okay, so our printer's beeping now to tell us that it's finished the first layer and it's time to change the filament. So now we can remove the black filament. There we go. See it changing over the gold filament underneath, it's spat out the black. Okay, so there's our completed signs, all ready to be screwed to our drawers and cupboards in the workshop. Now I'm sure you could get much more decorative screws than this, but this is what I've got available. And I'm not going out in this weather just to buy different screws. Isn't that right, mate? We got soaked. There we are. Okay, so there we are. The labels are mostly in place. I haven't decided what to label the bottom left drawer yet, but otherwise the labels for these drawers are all done. And I think they look a lot better than the old sticky labels. Let's see if we can do a split screen before and after. There we go. So I think my next step for these labels at least is to make different coloured ones for my mobile tool trolleys. That I can put on the drawer handles for those, because again those have got sticky labels. Okay, well hopefully that's been of some help, I will catch you in the next video. Bye for now.